Hey, ninth graders. Happy Friday, although every day feels like a Friday, or the weekend. And happy May Day, first day of May. We made it to May. um, I am thankful that the sun is out, and I hope that you are thankful for a lot of things today as well. Um, I am excited to be talking to you today about stories that are being retold. And that is our focus with the Icarus Tales as we move into the second piece of work by Sexton. One of the things that struck me with this particular topic was something that I was watching on Disney Plus, and that was the binge watch for me of Disney fantasy weddings with my son. He kind of got me going on that. We all love Disney here in this family and have been many times to Disney World and Disneyland. So as we were watching that, as we sit here in quarantine, they had a wedding that was a tale as old as time was the theme. And I thought, oh my goodness, that is so true. Beauty and the Beast nailed it because there really are no new storylines. There are the seven basic storylines from time because writers often and do repurpose existing storylines or use pre-existing molds of characters, and they just retell it in a different way, put their spin on it, push it out to us and say, okay, think of it in this way. Now what do you get? And we think of, oh, hey, that, you know what? There's a new message I can get from that. Or I see this in a different way. And that's the purpose of the retelling. So that's our focus today. I'm going to take you through the slideshow real briefly. I promise I'm not going over time today. And then your job is to investigate that on your own and to look at the poem by Sexton. So let's move through that right now. All right, basic storylines. I just mentioned that there are seven basic storylines. Here they are. And this is according to, as you can see, Christopher Booker. You can check him out, look him up. It's actually really interesting to read about. I probably should have put this as your extension activity now that I'm thinking about it and saying it out loud, because the article and the reading on this is kind of cool. If you want to swap that out and if you're looking for some cool reading, this works really well. But as you're looking through these, you're probably like, oh yeah, I thought of this movie, or I can think of this book that has this storyline. Rags to Riches is one I think we see a whole lot. And when I ask this question to classes, I usually get movies like The Pursuit of Happiness, Rags to Riches, Cinderella. That's a good one. If you're into Greek mythology, you guys, maybe you did the extension activity, The Quest, the Odysseus story. I suppose you could talk about, Forrest Gump. I don't know how many of you have seen that one. If you haven't, that's a great watch while you're at home right now. You've got Overcoming the Monster. I suppose that you could talk about, the Harry Potter series. Monster is kind of the monster and demon and in that story. So there's all these different storylines. You could talk about movies or books that fill these storylines. With comedy and tragedy, it's a really big category. If you're talking Shakespeare, his comedies always ended in marriages, sometimes even a double, like in Midsummer Night's Dream. And in tragedies for Shakespeare, always ended in death. We broadened that out in modern times. Comedies, we talk about basically celebrations. Tragedies, still some kind of death. And so you can see that not all movies are going to be one or the other, or not all books are one or the other. These are pretty specific storylines. And then with rebirth, that's not literal. I know you guys know that. But rebirth just means a person has a realization and comes out the other side being a different person in some way, shape, or form. When we did teach the Odyssey and Odysseus, And if you're familiar with that story at all, he goes on this great voyage and he actually ventures to the underworld. And when he comes back, he has this new aha moment, and he has a different view of the world as this different person, so to speak. And that's his rebirth. It happens in Huck Finn as he travels down the river. He has this rebirth. Each time he goes on land, discovers something, he goes back to the river, and he's this different person. So there's this it's a metaphorical thing. All right, so these plots and storylines have come up through history and through literature and just really haven't changed. So because they haven't changed, the basic gist, authors take them, twist them, and ask us to get a new message from them. All right, let's talk about music. Oh, my goodness gracious. Your generation, so into music. I thought my generation was, the 80s. Love the 80s. Love the 80s music. Hey, we've got Iron Maiden here. This is something, if you haven't heard this song or looked at these lyrics, this is a great one about Icarus. So getting back to our topic here. But Iron Maiden took the Icarus tale, right? Up here, we've got that. So retelling, it gives you a sense of the Icarus tale that you already read. But in the song, Daedalus watches from the ground. And his advice to his son is to fly and touch the sun. So Daedalus goes, hey, son, go and touch the actual sun. And Icarus does it and realizes his dad tricked him. So taking that original storyline, kind of twisting it, and making dad look really mean, in essence, killing his son. What? Why? In our story, in the source text, dad's, his face became wet and he was crying, and he built a tomb for Icarus, and he cursed his own arts, and all of these things happen in the original. But Iron Maiden takes the original story, tweaks it a little bit, puts their spin on it, and has a new message arrive out of it. And that's what I want you to think about. These new tales have a different message. And if you're thinking, well, Miss Dupuis, I don't know these songs. This is so out of date. Who the heck is Kansas? I do recognize Zane, but what the heck? Now you can click on this Vibe hip hop link. Buyer beware. There is some language going on. So if you don't want to click here, don't click here. Just my FYI warning. But there may be some artists in here that you recognize. But all of these in here have Icarus connections or allusions. That's allusions with an A, not an I. Allusion means reference to. So might be kind of fun for you if you're thinking Miss Dupuis is really old school and you don't know any of these. But these are all clickable. You can go to them, check them out, and see what is happening with music and those Icarus references. But the Iron Maiden song is kind of cool. All right, not only that, but retellings can happen when you do mashups and you take something and you sample it into another song. A lot of times, like with Ice Ice Baby and Queen and David Bowie, Under Pressure, you even get a lawsuit. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, that can even be an extension reading for you. You've got Ice Ice Baby with this. They sampled Queen's song Under Pressure. These are clickable links. Check them out. You'll hear it. It was so obvious. And Vanilla Ice was an idiot. Even though I really like the song. Awesome. This is one more recent from Glee. Mashup of Singing in the Rain. Going nicely with Umbrella. And then here's that link again. Got it duplicated, my bad. So, retellings, mashups, leading us into our reading back to the Icarus tales. All right, we're going to repeat what we call a cycle of work. And this is where we repeat the process that we did with the first tale. The reason being we want to do the same cycle of work so we can make comparisons and contrast to that source text. So what are you going to do? We're going to talk about what literally happened in the text. What can we tell about the characters, and what are you wondering? Same thing you did before. I'm going to ask that you read the biographical sketch. Super important. Do not skip this step. You've got to know about your author to understand where they're coming from and get that message. Their background matters. All right, title. Notice the title is not Icarus. To a friend whose work has come to triumph. All right, different title. Titles are important. And finally, read the poem. It's linked again here. All right, when you read the poem, I'd like you to mark it up, like I just mentioned, at these 3 bullet points. Do the work. Do the work, do the work. And when you're all done, I'd like you to do a compare contrast with a Venn diagram. If you're not remembering what the Venn diagram is, remember it's those 2 overlapping circles where you get the overlap in the middle and they intersect. And you'll have Ovid on the left, I don't care which side's which, but Ovid on one circle, Sexton on the other. And in the middle is the overlap of how those 2 are similar. If you're not sure what a Venn diagram is, just Google search it super dupes quick. It'll give you a visual and you'll go, oh yeah, we've done it in class, or oh yeah, I saw it in another class. If you are not sure, then just simply write down what is the same between the 2 texts. What's different between the 2 texts? I'm good with that too. Either way, I just want you to do the thinking about it. That's going to be really, really important for you. Because I want you to think about how did Anne Sexton retell, repurpose, mash up Ovid's original. And then when you think about, why did she do that? Why did she retell it that way? And what's her message? Because that's where we're headed. I know you're not shocked. And then, of course, next week we'll give you a little preview. We're going to have a Google Meet talking about just that. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, though. Let's go back. Here's what you're doing. Slide 12. Don't skip the biographical sketch and the title significance. Read the poem, mark it up, do the work. All right. Any questions at all, you let me know. Looking forward to seeing you all next week. I really would love you to join the Google Meets. And while you're there, I'd really love you to talk. I feel like we could do a little bit better with that. I know, I'm going to kind of call out here. Period 7, I thought, did a much stronger job than my period 8. Going to call you out, period 8. Let's really do some work this week, and let's get into the discussions next week. Honestly, guys, we're just hanging out at home. It's nice to hear you guys talk, and in class you did such a good job that I really, truly miss those discussions with you guys. So I look forward to next week. Let me know how I can help you, and have a great weekend.